All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're tackling a massive contradiction right at the heart of the world's most famous fast food chain. The standard logic goes, you sell a burger, you make a profit, you grow the business, right? Well, the reality is a whole lot more complex and honestly, way more fascinating.
Okay, let's just dive right into this. The real secret to their insane historical wealth? It's absolutely not burgers. In fact, the true business model is literally hiding right beneath the physical restaurant locations themselves.
It sets up a genuine paradox, doesn't it? If profit margins on food are notoriously thin, how on earth did they build a global empire? Because selling cheap food is incredibly difficult. So as we peel back the layers today, you might want to prepare to completely rethink how those golden arches actually generate their billions.
Let's kick things off with Chapter 1, the burger myth. Look, before we can really appreciate the sheer genius of this corporation's actual strategy, we gotta understand the brutal economic reality of the restaurant business. Small restaurant owners constantly struggle, right? I mean, you might have massive food revenue coming in, but right alongside it, you're getting hit with massive expenses for food preparation, ingredients, daily kitchen operations, the whole shebang. By the end of the day, when you actually look at the income statement, that profit margin, it shrinks down to this tiny, incredibly vulnerable sliver.
So, the crucial point here is that relying solely on selling food is a highly vulnerable business model. Food revenue is just inherently unpredictable. It relies on foot traffic, the weather, shifting consumer trends. But your operating expenses, those are fixed. The anvil always drops, the bills always come due, and they are constantly threatening to just crush those already razor-thin margins.
Which brings us to Chapter 2, the real estate strategy.
Early on, the company realized that just flipping burgers, that wasn't going to be the path to becoming a billionaire enterprise. So, guided by a financial genius named Harry Sonborn, they executed this massive historical pivot. Instead of just leasing storefronts like everyone else, they zeroed in on three things: land, location, and control. They started buying up strategic land, particularly in developing areas. By literally owning the dirt where their restaurants operated, they gained ultimate control over their own expanding map.
Moving right along to Chapter 3, franchise cash flow.
Now, owning prime real estate is fantastic on paper, but how do you actually turn dirt into liquid cash? Well, the secret is franchise economics. Basically, independent business owners sign agreements to operate the restaurant, but, crucially, and this is the absolute key, they pay rent directly to the parent company. This was a massive paradigm shift. The corporation acts way more like a commercial landlord just collecting rent than a kitchen manager sweating over a hot grill.
What's really interesting about this model is how it creates this brilliant upward flow of money. Think about it. The franchise owner does the hard work. They construct the physical restaurant, they sell the burgers, they manage the staff, and they handle the entire daily grind. And then they pay rent. That rent flows straight up to corporate. It generates a stream of highly predictable income that is completely locked in, regardless of whether a location sells 100 burgers that day or 1,000.
Let's look at Chapter 4, the wealth-building machine.
If you zoom out to the macro view, you can see exactly why this specific model is basically unstoppable. Back in the 1960s, they made these initial strategic land purchases. Then, through the 80s and 2000s, cities rapidly expanded and developed, completely surrounding these prime locations. And because of that incredible urban growth, property values naturally skyrocketed. They essentially just sat there and let the world build up around them, turning that early dirt into massive long-term wealth as both their rental income and their underlying asset values absolutely exploded.
To put the sheer scale of this into perspective, underneath the branding and the Happy Meals, they have amassed a global property portfolio so unimaginably vast that they are effectively one of the absolute largest real estate empires in the entire world today.
And that brings us to the final reveal. When you combine escaping those brutal kitchen margins we talked about with strategic land acquisition and a landlord-tenant franchise model, you get a financial juggernaut. They are, quite literally, the burger company that became a real estate giant. They didn't just build restaurants to sell food, they built an historically unprecedented property empire, and they basically just used the burgers to pay for the real estate.
So now that you know the secret beneath the golden arches, you kind of have to wonder, what other everyday empires are hiding their true business models right in plain sight? Keep questioning the structures around you guys. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.